Before you tonight, you have the Larson at Narcoossee Comprehensive Plan Amendment for approximately 31.26 acres of land. This is a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment. For the background, the existing future land use is low-density residential. The proposed future land use has a high-density residential, and this is consistent with the comprehensive plan with the following policies.
My property backs up to Narcoossee Road. I would look directly over Narcoossee Road into those 4-story apartments. 4 years ago, when I purchased my home, had it built by D.R. Horton, I did research on that house. I went to see the Planning and Zoning Commission and asked, what will be built over there? They said low-density residential. I said, fine. Eventually something will be built over there, and that's what I anticipated going over there when I bought my house. Now we come in 2021, this developer, who's also developed those apartments up in Lake Nona, the 4-story apartments in Lake Nona we all despise looking at as we drive by them, are now being planned to be built across the street from us. Me and my neighbors, the 585 single-family homeowners in Turtle Creek and the 120 townhome members do not want this development.
You know who I am, and you know the group I represent. You had my email. You had hundreds of other emails and communications on this, every one of them 100% against this proposal. As this gentleman just stated, the main objection are the apartments.
I spoke before you last time, and as we discussed, you pointed out the impact fees that we get are not as much for apartments as they are for homes. There's impact fees throughout the county. Very little of it stays here. As your own people who work with the Osceola legislative effort, Mr. Newstreet pointed out, we're always looking for funding outside of here because they aren't enough. So you're going to take smaller numbers for an extra 296 apartments. Buying a home is more affordable than renting. If you think you can rent a home and save enough to buy property later, you are sadly mistaken. Mortgages are less than $1,600 a month, and I understand not everybody has a down payment, but there are programs available.
The thing that concerns me about this is I don't see where this seems very strategic is what concerns me. They were mentioning earlier that perhaps doing some structures of this nature, perhaps down towards 192 or a bigger corridor where we have more infrastructure. But to put the high-density apartments directly across from low-density doesn't seem like a good strategy. And where this concerns me is I think we do have a good future for St. Cloud, and I think you have put a lot of work into this and a lot of good planning. However, if we allow developers to have us make short-sighted decisions, then while we might make a couple quick moves here that seem good, we'll lose the long game. So, I mean, I think of things like, chess and games of strategy. When you take those first quick moves, sometimes it seems like you're making the right decision or like you're winning the game, but you're really losing the game if you're not looking at the long term.
The only beautiful thing about that project right now is that I can still see the land. There's nothing in my way from my backyard. 30 years ago, when I moved to this town, there was nothing but cows and dirt roads. I understand things have to grow, but the council, with the decisions they've made along with the county, have destroyed my retirement. My 10 acres was supposed to be my retirement. You've taken that from me with the communities that you've put around me.
I grew up in Narcoossee, and today I stand before the council and ask that you oppose the approval of the developer's request. My family, Paul family to be exact, has been in the Narcoossee area since 1951. And we have seen the changes come over the years from dirt roads to houses, and more houses. There is a lot of history in the Narcoossee area, and majority of the Narcoossee residents love the trees that surround them, that give beauty and provide privacy. Not to mention the wildlife that visits our backyard every day. When I ask people why they want to move to Narcoossee, they will tell you to enjoy the peacefulness of the rural life. It proposed there would be 320 multifamily units up to 4-story complex, not compatible with what we know Narcoossee to be, a small rural town. Back in the day, you couldn't get people to move to Narcoossee, and now Narcoossee has become a hotspot.
There are too many cars driving on Narcoossee Road from Route 192 to Boggy Creek. As city council members, you already approved Center Lake Community, which consists of 3,000 homes, 800 units, apartments east of the Rummel Road and Narcoossee Road intersection. This all means that each house and apartment will be driving at least 2 cars each, which totals at least 7,600 cars driving daily on Narcoossee Road as the only artery to and from Lake Nona, Orlando
With
area.
this particular development, you know, originally there was commercial mixed in, which kind of makes sense, right? I mean, when you have commercial mixed in with residential, it allows for you to have businesses mixed in with that community, which means people in that community might work at those businesses. They might have kids that work at those businesses, right? So those kinds of communities where you can actually integrate commercial and civic spaces and parks and things like that makes sense. But when they come and they take away all the commercial and they want to do high density residential in an area that, you know, it just doesn't fit in formatively. You know, everybody here has spoken on that. And I think, you know, moving forward, as you look at projects like this, you really need to consider what is the future of the area, and will the area grow the way you want it to, or, you know, you need to sort of steer that. I mean, you guys are the ones that are ultimately the ones that are speaking for these citizens behind me. And besides that, you know, you say that you listen to the citizens. Well, there's a lot of them here that say they don't want this project. So I hope that you're listening to them, and I hope that when you make the decision, you make it in the best interest of the city, of all the residents here, and the future, to make sure that we are growing responsibly in a healthy way, and that it is good for our economy, it is good for our environment, and it's good for the residents that are here now.
Curious, have we resolved the issue with the fire truck not being able to reach that high? I understand that they'll have sprinklers in there, but that's only going to help you if there's a fire, is the issue that the police department or the fire department needs to go and get somebody out. If there's some other kind of catastrophe, and I don't even want to say anything because I don't want to make anything happen, but how would you
These
get
apartments are going to be right in my backyard now. So I look out my backyard at 4-story apartments. I'm actually Cheryl's neighbor. I just built this house. 5 months I've lived in it. So now I'm going to see this. I just strongly disagree. That doesn't fit the small town look that we're after here. So I would hope you would oppose it. Thank you.
I made some notes here, so hopefully I can read my chicken scratch. So first I want to say I agree with all of the comments from the audience. These statements that they've had are the same comments that I've had every time this has come forward before us. And just for a timeline of the project, I know it's kind of been touched upon, but when it first came before council, it was called commercial development. So my comment that I made at that meeting was, it's not fair to call it commercial because it's not a commercial development. It's housing and apartments, and then basically like a Chick-fil-A. Like, that's how much. So I don't know how that got construed into we didn't want commercial, but then that's what it came back. It came back apartments and townhomes. So one of the comments I had to make is about this road network program. I agree with the comments that were made. This is lines on paper, and that'll be between, 20 years to who knows when. There's so many demands and needs within the county for road networks. This isn't a prioritized area, so to say that, all these parallel systems are going to come into place, that's not going to be for many, many years. We'll be dealing with the impacts from this development for many years without that. Consistently, as this has come through, I said the density is too high, it's too many units. In the last meeting that we had, it was said, well, we haven't approved apartments in a long time. So I had asked staff also to pull together some information between existing, approved, and proposed in master plans, and there's 3,772 apartments that are on the books. So I don't feel like we need more apartments. Also, when you go 6 miles to the north, you've got a pile of apartments, and I didn't even realize the apartments that are coming in Harmony that Ms. Demke brought up. I didn't even realize that was coming. So, we've got 2,360 apartments that haven't even started coming through the system at the city yet. I agree with the comment that $1,600 for rent, which is what was mentioned in a previous meeting. I don't feel like that's affordable. I mean, I just purchased a new home, and I'll tell you, my mortgage is way less than $1,600. So let's see. So we received, I know I received many emails, and not one of them was in support of the development. So I made a motion to deny this the last time it came before us, but that failed. So I'm hoping my fellow city council members have given this some more thought, reviewed the emails from citizens and the public comment that we received, and hoping we have a different outcome tonight.
Just the two biggest things I'm looking at with this are scale and consistency. The first plan that came through was like a hard no. I mean, there was no thought about compatibility around the area. Even driving down Narcoossee Road, it was a hard no, hard pass. Second one that came along did a bit of a better job. It changed a lot of aspects of it, but then from the comments from last time, I feel like nothing changed. A couple numbers on a page changed, but it wasn't enough to move the needle in my mind. I mean, it's still 4-story apartments right there on the road. Driving up the turnpike, if you're heading from Kissimmee Park up past the 192 exit, there's 3-story apartments. I didn't even realize how tall they were, but you could see them, the entire top floor of them from the turnpike, and I'm 400 feet away from them, and I thought they were 4-story, and I was like, all right, well, you can definitely see the top floor, and the 3 of them are covered by the landscaping that's along the turnpike. Turns out they're only 3-story, and it only covers up the first 2 stories. Because like the little rendering, I kind of did some math as well, and it doesn't always kind of get there. So I mean, my big thing last time, and I thought I said it, was 4-story just wasn't going to work in my mind.
Which just led to a ton of confusion for me. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, so if you're driving on the road and you look to your right, you're headed north and you look to your right, we're buying a piece of property. And that property is 1,700 feet of Narcoossee frontage, right? So when
Totally
you're driving, you see
understand
that.
the property.
Okay. So we're talking a lot about how all these 4-story buildings. And so in our site plan, there's only one 4-story building that is on the frontage or close to the frontage. And that building is not long, it is narrow along the frontage, and it is only 75 feet wide.
So are you talking the long building? You have 5 buildings there, I see, or maybe more. Okay, there we go. It's still that 75 feet next to Narcoossee. That's still 4 stories. Am I correct? Okay. And the other one that's farther down there, that's going to be 3 stories. The multifamily.
All of the multifamily buildings shown on here are 4 stories, and then there is a 1-story that I just wrote on the plan.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to deny.
We have a motion for denial. Do I have a second?
I'm going to second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Matheny. We have a second from...
We'll withdraw, Mayor.
Thank you very much.